This week on Dance of Joy, we talk about our allergies to the outside, a well-timed Barbie reference, and eating the rich. All that and more as we watch Season 6, Episode 11 of our favorite 80s hit sitcom, Perfect Strangers. Hello and welcome to Dance of Joy, a Perfect Strangers rewatch podcast. My name is Sophia. I'm one of your hosts, and joining me as always is your other host and my other brother. Wait, what? No, my only brother. What's up, Imran?
Brother host checking in, sir. Yes, chef. Oh, wait, that's the wrong
wrong
profession.
show. That's
Right,
our other
show.
podcast.
Yes, Chef Corner. Oh, no, never mind. Watch
What if
the
we
bear.
just did a podcast about all the shows that were ever based in Chicago?
Oh, that does connect. The bear is based in Chicago.
They're
But-
they're cousins too.
Oh, yeah. This is like the bear is like modern day Perfect Strangers.
Not
if
really.
If Larry was a chef.
With an ensemble cast.
And if Balky was just a screw up. But anyways, for this week, before we even start the episode, I have to preface this whole thing with a disclaimer. If the listener is not aware, I am a person who has vitiligo. I've had
How would the listener be aware
I don't
of
know.
that?
Have
We're
I
not
mentioned
a
it
video
before?
Show.
No.
We're
Yeah,
a
you would tell.
podcast.
You couldn't tell.
Can you tell he sounds white?
Can you tell I sound like I've lost all the pigment in my skin and I was born brown and grew up to be a white guy like Michael Jackson? But that is to say, right, I have no melanin across my skin. So I'm not a big fan of the sun. It's a little overrated.
Do you want to explain what vitiligo is?
It is, yes, it's the destruction of melanin in your skin.
Right.
Melanin gives you both color, pigment, and protects you from the ultraviolet
It's
rays.
what Michael Jackson has.
of the skin. It's what he
Contrary
said he
to
had.
popular
And I'll tell you,
opinion, he did not. Well, he did not do that intentionally.
sometimes I'm out there with Michael Jackson on a sunny day with an umbrella. He had it right. He knew what he was doing.
Wearing one glove.
Because I cannot suntan. So having no melanin, I get sunburn standing too close to a light bulb. Yeah. Or a match. So people out there suntanning, getting all wrinkly. I'm like, this is a little overrated. You're harming
You're a
yourself.
vampire.
I do not
basically.
I'm not friends with the sun. I'm a nighttime person.
That is relevant to this episode of Perfect Strangers, which is Season 6, Episode 11, entitled The Sunshine Boys.
Yeah, why would you want to be a sunshine boy? Just stay inside. It's much safer.
I don't like the sun either, but for different reasons than you. I'm a brown woman. If you didn't know that, listener, you're listening to Brother and Sister Team. One's a white guy who used to be a brown
I'm
guy.
brown on the inside.
And one's a brown woman
What's that,
who
reverse
also
Oreo?
used to be a brown woman who was always brown.
What's something that's brown on the inside and white on the outside? I don't know. I call it a reverse Oreo. It's the only thing I can think of.
What
Reverse
is brown
coconut.
on the inside.
There's
and
nothing.
white? Like a rotten banana.
Well, whatever it would be, it'd be a rotten something. That's what I kept
banana.
coming to. I'm like,
No, but bananas get brown on the
there's
outside.
no good
too.
term for this.
Oh, you're like a
aside from-
yogurt covered raisin or something.
Yes, yogurt covered chocolate chip. But the Sunshine Boys is a reference to something.
That's right. This Sunshine Boys was a Neil Simon play.
Yeah.
Which is about two aging vaudeville comedians who are at odds with each other.
Kind of like
I
the
had never
Odd
heard of
Couple.
it.
Well, Neil Simon, huge playwright. They made a movie, 1975, starring Walter Matthau, George Burns, and as
the Odd Couple.
as the Sunshine Boys.
Oh, interesting.
Based off the musical. F. Murray Abraham, also in that movie, who is hilarious and great actor. But this episode has nothing to do with sun or shining.
Well,
Maybe some boys.
A little bit. With sunshine. Anyway, what is it about? Well, if you had opened the TV guide back then, you would have read, the snobs Larry couldn't measure up to in high school are now inviting him to join their exclusive club.
Oh, high school snobs.
Ooh.
I see.
Also known as bullies, maybe?
Well,
we'll
no
find
snobs,
out.
bullies. It's half a dozen of one, whatever that saying is.
6 of one, half a dozen
13 of the other. Baker's dozen of the other. That's a
15 of
Balkyism.
one,
24 of one, 65 of the other, Costin. I don't
2
know.
dozen of the other. Yeah.
We have our fabulous foursome, of course. Balky Bartakan was played by Bronson Pinchot. Mark Lynn Baker playing Larry. Melanie Wilson as Jennifer. Rebecca Arthur as Marianne. And we got F.J. O'Neill as Mr. Wainwright showing up. And special guest bully we will get to from Larry's past when he pops up.
And listener cousins, I apologize in advance if you might hear a sniffle or two from me. I'm getting over a cold. I don't know if my voice sounds different.
Yeah, it sounds fine.
All right. Imran will do most of the talking. What else is new? Just kidding. All right.
I'm going to let you do it now that you said that.
This episode aired on December 7th, 1990.
And Perfect Strangers can be enjoyed binge for free streaming on Amazon Freebie.
All right, let's find out why we're talking about the Sunshine Boys. We start in the basement of the Chronicle. The boys are at work, and Balky is apparently working on a crossword puzzle, like in the paper. And we open with this like classic gag. It's still pretty funny, but it's a classic, sort of like a pun type of joke. We used to know it as a joke about two brothers on a boat. Anyway, Balky says to Larry, cousin, what's a 6-letter word for do over? And Larry just goes, repeat. And Balky goes, what's a 6-letter word for do over? And Larry goes, repeat. What's a 6-letter word for do over? Repeat. He's like, the word is repeat, Larry says. He's like, and then Balky goes, well, love me tender and call me Elvis. Why didn't you say so in the first place? Do you remember that joke?
Yeah, Pete and repeat were in a boat? Or what is the joke?
Pete falls out, who's left?
Repeat. And
Pete and repeat were in a boat. Pete
yes.
falls out, who's left?
Yes, repeat. I remember when I was 7, that was hilarious.
It was.
Yes, that's a good school year.
I don't know why they were in a boat.
Pete and repeat were in a boat.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Why were they in a boat? I don't know.
Anyways, that's a fun little opening gag when Mr. Wainwright and another dude come walking down the stairs with the plot to the episode, sort of.
Just a random dude behind Mr. Wainwright.
Just a random dude in a very nice suit.
And Wainwright's looking for a racketeering story from Larry. It seems like he's always writing a story on racketeering. I guess investigative reporters in the 80s
Larry's
and 90s.
got the crime beat. Like, he's always the one to
There was a lot of
write about
racketeering
and corruption. Larry's your guy. He'll
crime
get in
and
there.
investigative
Yes,
reporting.
it's funny. Racketeering.
So Larry says, yeah, he just finished it today, and he gives it to Wainwright. Wainwright takes it. So it's printed out on paper, so Wainwright takes it and like sort of wanders around to the back of the space looking over it. And in the meantime, this random other man is still there, and Larry finally sees who it is, and he goes, Bunky?
Bunky
McDermott? Bunkster, it's me, the Apple Man.
The Apple Man.
What is going on? And so they recognize each other. Apparently it's Bunky McDermott, whose name we've heard before. We'll get to that in a minute. They're like, oh, it's been a long time. You're looking good. And Larry's like, so are you. You haven't changed a bit. You just look richer. And so he's like kind of like a well-dressed, snobby-looking guy.
Very snobby.
And Larry asks him, how's everything going? And he goes, well, I have a penthouse in New York, a villa in Capri, and a castle in Spain.
Ooh.
What do you think?
Whoa.
And Balky suddenly pipes and says, I think it must be tough for you to run home for lunch.
Yeah, it's funny.
At which point he's like, who's this guy? And Larry introduces, he's like, this is my cousin Balky. He goes, Balky Bunky, Bunky Balky. And they turn to each other and Bunky goes, Balky. And like gives him
Bunky.
an outstretched hand.
Bunky.
And Balky goes, Bunky.
I love
And then
that.
he hugs him.
Balky, Bunky, Bunky, Balky.
Balky, Bunky. And they hug.
And then by that point, Mr. Wainwright has read Larry's article. He's come back around. He tells him, nice work, Appleton. You may win a Pulitzer Prize yet. That's high praise for Mr. Wainwright. And then he shakes Bunky's hand and just leaves.
He just says, Bunky, it's been a pleasure.
It's
so
been a
all we know
pleasure.
is like they had some business or something.
Yeah,
Why is Bunky even there?
Yeah, we're not sure. He just kind of, Larry's old high school friend shows up
with Mr. Wainwright.
and knows Wainwright. So we've heard of Bunky McDermott. The last time we heard him was that episode Almost Live from Chicago. Remember when Lydia had to shoot the pilot and Larry kept pushing her because he wanted to show up Bunky McDermott for something. He was the president of the chess club.
Which was, if I recall correctly, we found that to be a very shallow premise for why Larry
that was his
so
sole motivation
his
for pushing Lydia to do the show.
Yeah.
I got to show up this dude we've never met who's my high school bully,
Well,
I guess.
I don't want you to regret things like I regret things.
Oh, right, because
he
stole the chess club presidency from him or something.
Well, that's the other thing.
Yeah.
In that episode, Bunky was the president of the high school chess club. But in this episode, keep that in mind as we talk about.
Yeah, this doesn't seem like a guy who'd be president of the high school chess club.
Yeah, anyway.
Exactly. But playing Bunky his name is Mark Neely, who's worked as an actor late 70s and through the 80s. He's been on Different Strokes, Brothers, Soul Man, Night Court, Just the 10 of Us, and Designing Women.
All the good shows.
This dude reminds me of that dude Beck Bennett from SNL who plays Eric Trump.
Beck Bennett as Eric Trump.
Beck Bennett as Eric Trump. This is what this guy looks like. I was like, is that Beck Bennett? Oh, this is 1990. He wouldn't have been alive.
He was probably alive. Beck Bennett, maybe.
He would have been a kid. Anyways, the Pulitzer line, it's catches Bunky's attention. He goes, a Pulitzer.
He's kind of impressed.
Appleton, that's very impressive. You come a long way since high school. And then they reminisce about the good times they had. Did they, though? As we find out, Bunky goes, Appleton, remember the time a bunch of us were going to the dance and we pretended we'd run out of gas, so we made that poor sap go back and get some, and then we drove off and he starts laughing, and Larry's just standing there going, that was me.
Oh.
And Bunky goes, oh, I must have been thinking of that nerd whose books we always glued together. And Larry goes, nope, me again. Oh, boy. And Bunky goes, cousin, I'm confused. Were you the sap or the nerd? So clearly, this is
Bunky was a
traumatic time in Larry's life, and he's trying
bully Bunky.
And now Larry's trying to get acceptance from this individual who just humiliated him when they were kids. Interesting.
But it seems as if maybe Bunky has grown out of his bulliness because he says, no, I was the sap.
Oh.
And he said, we did some pretty cruel things to you in high school, Larry. I'm really sorry about that. What? A bully came back to apologize?
Wow. That's never happened.
And Larry's like, no, it's fine. Everybody does stupid things when they're young. And Balky says, tell me about it. Back on Me Post, there was this one group of kids who used to crow like a rooster and get the hens all excited. Like, what?
That's how crazy it gets on Me Post.
So then Bunky... he's apologized. He seems impressed with Larry and this Pulitzer talk. And he says, you know what, Mr. Pulitzer? The Beekman Club's giving a little formal dinner dance on Saturday. And he invites him as his guest. And Larry's like, the Beekman Club? And the way he says it, we don't know what the Beekman Club is. But it sounds like it's
very something important.
Hoity-toity and fancy-schmancy. And Bunky says, yeah, you'll feel right at home. All the old gang are members. And Larry goes, who's the old gang? All like Bunky's bully friends?
Yeah.
And we find out because Larry's like, oh, you mean Muffy, Buffy, Fluffy? And then Bunky goes, and Biff, Cliff, and Griff. Who are these people? And why were they the bullies? You'd think this group would be getting made fun of with
they're
names
like the soft,
Muffy,
rich,
Buffy, Fluffy, Biff, Cliff, and Griff.
Rich kids with funny names. Bunky goes, sounds terrific after Cliff
Biff,
and Griff.
Cliff and Griff. Sounds terrific. And then he also says, Balky says, you're taking me back. I remember my old gang back on Me Post. Glinky, Blinky, Dinky, Manny, Mo, and Jack.
What very regular names, those last three. Blinky, Glinky, and Dinky, I get.
Manny, Mo, and Jack is a reference to the spokes characters, the spokesmen for the Pep Boys, the auto supply.
Yeah, on their logo, there's like three characters with like one has like a big handlebar mustache. They're like old timey 1920s characters.
Apparently, Manny, Mo, and Jack are based on three of the store's founders. There were four founders.
That store was that big that people like knew the Pep Boys. I mean, I guess they were the Pep Boys.
Maybe there was like some ad campaign that was big in the 80s. I don't know. I was not thinking about auto parts in the 80s. I was a child. Okay, so
get in the zone.
Blinky,
the auto zone.
Dinky, Manny, Mo, and Jack.
Yes, yes.
And Bunky is so tickled by Balky saying these funny things that he says he invites him to. He tells him dinner's at 9.
Oh, nice. So Bunky leaves and Larry's just ecstatic. He goes, Balky, this is great. This is something I've been dreaming about since high school. And Balky goes, cousin, you've eaten out before. It's kind of funny. Larry has to explain. He goes, no, this is a chance for him to finally be accepted by Bunky.
And here's where we find out more
This is weird. He says, back in high school, everybody wanted to be in Bunky's crowd. They were the smartest, best looking, the most popular. They had the most fun. And next week, when I go to that party and walk in with Jennifer on my arm, Bunky will see that I am Larry Appleton, ace reporter for the Chicago Chronicle. He'll beg me to be a member of that club. Oh, it'll be Buffy, Muffy, Fluffy, Biff, Cliff, Griff, and Larry. Oh, my God. So now he's going to use Jennifer as a trophy.
Yeah.
And why is he trying so hard to impress these horrible people, this person that tortured him?
Because they were so popular. They were president of the chess club. It doesn't match up.
So Larry is still chasing kind of like from high school being in the popular crowd.
You know, Larry just needs a lot of therapy. We all carry that stuff around with us.
Yes, we do. That's a very big insecurity. But by his age, I would think you let it go.
30, yeah.
Yeah, he's almost 30.
No, he's 30 already
he is
by
30.
now in the show.
Oh, that's right, because he's 24 in the first season.
Yeah.
So Larry said, Balky says it sounds great. Sounds like you're going to have a wonderful time. And Larry's
like, no, you're going with me.
We will have a wonderful time.
And Balky's like, no, I can't go. Next Saturday night is the Star Search semifinals.
Oh, my God. That's a reference from the 80s.
Yes.
Ed McMahon hosting it was
a talent competition.
Yes.
It was like the American Idol, America's Got Talent of the 80s,
the original,
and 90s.
Kind of the one that started it.
And a lot of people
a lot of big
made
comedians
it.
And singers
Came out from actors, child actors.
I used to watch that. I remember watching it.
It ran from 1983 to 1995. It had a bunch of categories. So there were like female singer, male singer, junior singer, teen singer, group vocals, dance, junior dance, comedy, spokesmodel.
Spokesmodel was a category where you literally come out and you like show a car. You know, like you like, here's a car, like on game shows.
Oh, that was a talent?
I think so. Like a Vanna White. Just to be a Vanna White.
Interesting.
Yeah, Ed McMahon, this is while he's like Johnny Carson's sidekick on the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
And I get
Star Search was huge. I remember watching.
Yeah, I remember Star Search. And even still, I record AGT. I don't want to miss the live shows and get it spoiled. I get it.
Right. And you couldn't do that.
Back then.
You could have maybe done it on VCR, but he was watching it. And Larry has a problem with this. He needs Balky to go. He's like, Bunky invited you. Bunky asked me to bring you along. You don't say no to Bunky McDermott.
He's already afraid of disappointing this horrible person.
And Balky's like, I'm not. I'm saying no to Cousin McLarry.
Cousin McLarry.
So then Larry starts his manipulation.
Yeah, a little bit of lying, a little bit of psychological tricks.
He's like, all right, there's no reason for you to go. You won't know anyone there. You'll be bored. You can meet Wayne Newton some other time. Buck is like, what? And he's like, Bunky didn't say that Wayne Newton was going to be there. And Larry's like, who do you think Fluffy is?
That's his code word.
Which is like a good save on Larry's part.
So apparently that's enough to get Balky in and
You don't
going.
think that, how did Balky fall for that? Because wouldn't you think that,
Wayne?
Wouldn't he be like, how come you've never mentioned that Wayne Newton went to high school with you and you know how big
you're thinking too much into it. But Balky's going because we transition to the next scene, which is in the cousin's apartment. And on the door, Larry's standing by the front door with a clipboard. And on the door is hanging one tuxedo and one what looks like a Myposian general outfit. I don't know,
it's not the classic Myposian
elaborated jacket
with
ropes on the shoulder. Yes, it looks like
and tassels.
Something Michael Jackson would have worn, or something from the cover of the Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Yeah,
the Beatles. It's a very, very, very elaborate jacket. That
a lot
has
of tassels.
Yes.
Yeah. Creek tassels.
But Larry's walking around and he's got a clipboard. What is this clipboard?
Okay, so this really spoke to me as like, I don't know if it's like an ADD thing or like a just planning thing. He's like, okay, we have 7 hours till Bunky's party. In 2 hours, I'll have a light snack, so I won't pig out on the hors d'oeuvres.
Smart.
And in 3 hours and 15 minutes, I'll shave, so I'll be smooth yet a little swarthy. Just that planning line, really, because I totally do this. I'm like, okay, if I have
gotta work backwards.
If I have a big event on Saturday, then I have to wash my hair at least on like Thursday or not later than noon on Friday, because then it'll be too frizzy, whatever.
You got to work backwards.
Yeah.
And so Larry has walked over to the counter, right? And we see Balky's got like yellow gloves on, and there's some spray cans and newspaper. There's a whole production there. And Balky goes, And in 4 hours, the gold paint on your credit card should be dry. So he had Balky spray his credit card gold to make it look like one of the gold cards.
Ones.
And Balky picks up his wallet. And he goes, cousin, you want me to do the rest of your wallet? Your library card, so it looks a little shabby as he pulls it out. And he's like, no.
Although today it would be like the fancy ones are all black. Right?
Oh, they're like black and metal.
Yeah.
Like you'd have to cut something out of metal with a torch to fool someone and engrave it.
And just then the phone rings and Larry answers it and we hear him go, oh, hi, Bunkster.
Oh, Bunky's calling.
We haven't forgotten about the party. Balky and I will be there with bells on. And then Balky's like, cousin, I get to wear my bells? And
Larry's like, no, you don't get to wear your bells.
And then we hear him say into the phone, Larry's talking. He's like, what? You and the gang just got back from the Caribbean. Well, isn't that a coincidence? So did Balky and I. And then Balky opens his mouth to like say something or protest his lies. And Larry like puts just
slams his hand, covers his mouth while he's still on the phone with Bunky.
So he's covering Balky's mouth with one hand. The other hand has the phone receiver. And he goes, yeah, no, we love the tropics, sun and surf and sun.
Oh, yeah. He's got a little Wisconsin.
I'm surprised we didn't run into you. All right, see you tonight. Bye. And he hangs up the phone and he takes his hand off Balky's mouth. But before Balky can say anything, he goes, yes, I lied to Bunky. And Balky starts talking again. He goes, yes, I have a good reason. Balky starts again. Yes, I'll tell it to you if you just give me a chance. And Larry says, I lied to Bunky so that I wouldn't hurt their feelings. Again, he's manipulating him. He's like, if we go to the party and Bunky finds out that we're the only ones who haven't been to the Caribbean, he and all his friends, they're going to feel terrible. And you don't want that, do you? And Balky's still trying to say like, well, blah, blah, blah. He's like, do you want that to happen? And then Balky's finally like, no, I wouldn't want to hurt Muffy, Buffy, Puffy, Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
I love that he threw in Donald Duck's nephews, who will go on to be stars of their own in DuckTales.
DuckTales. Ooh. I think after we're done here, we should do a podcast about DuckTales.
Oh my God, all of DuckTales
was amazing.
It deserves a rewatch. There's some good episodes.
It was all based on like classic literature stories.
Oh, each one,
Each one.
I didn't pick up on that.
Remember the Jason and the Argonauts one with the Golden Fleece?
A lot of great adventure. There was great adventure.
DuckTales. They just made them duck themed.
Yeah.
It was so good. So smart. Okay, anyway. And then Balky's like, I wouldn't want to hurt Muffy, Buffy, Puffy, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, not to mention Wayne.
He thinks Wayne's coming, remember? Wayne Newton's going to be there.
And so Larry goes back to his planning mode. He goes, okay, good. Now we have to hurry. We've only got a couple hours to get a suntan. What?
Okay.
And he tells Balky, we need a suntan to prove that we've been in the Caribbean.
I love Balky's response. He goes, cousin, this is where your silly little plan falls apart. We don't have enough time to go to the Caribbean, get a suntan, and get back in time for the party.
And Larry just rolls with it, manipulating more. He's like, yep, you're saying that we should get a suntan right here in the apartment. Good thinking.
Yeah, Balky's like, no, wait.
Ushers him out the door.
And Larry's like, I'd be nothing without you. And then they push his stammering Balky right out the door. And then we cut to transition. Presumably just
so ridiculous.
There's 2 hours left. They've left the building. This must be like a half hour later. We come back to the apartment, and what is in the apartment but two large tanning beds in front of the sofa, like one of those
where
sandwich,
the horse was.
Where the horse was. And these are like beds that have tubes on the bottom, and then there's a top that closes on top of you. There's wooden exterior.
I had so many questions.
These look really heavy. This is 1990. How did they get these? Can you just rent these?
Who brings tanning beds into their apartment unless you're like rich and famous? You already have them.
Why wouldn't you just go to a place?
Why wouldn't you just go? And if you only have 2 hours, you would just like go sit in one and come back. But like, how long did it take them to like? And how did they even get them in there?
How do they get them up the stairs? How do you
door?
How do you find a business that just rents tanning beds? How does that work?
Where is that what they were doing in the 90s? I don't know.
Anyways, they're now in possession of 2 tanning beds, and we see the cousin standing in between them, wearing robes, applying suntan lotion on their bodies.
And Balky says, I don't know if it's working. I put it on and I'm still as white as a mackerel in the moonlight.
White as a mackerel in the moonlight.
And Larry's like, no, we have to get in the beds and let the ultraviolet lights make us tan.
Well, Larry explains what tanning is.
Yes.
You got to turn them on and let the lights gradually tan them. So then we get to the sexy part of the episode.
Oh, gosh. The audience goes wild.
As they both slowly start to undo their ropes, but they stop and they look at each other. They're uncomfortable, so they turn their backs to each other.
Yeah.
And they just drop their ropes, and you hear the audience just start hooting and hollering.
They're both in boxer shorts.
Yes.
Larry in like boring white guy, like plaid boxer shorts, and Balky's boxer shorts, of course, are like the 90s, like colorful.
Prevalent, and the audience is like, woo, woo. They're like catcalling them.
Lots
and stuff.
of chest hair. Even Larry has some like chest and stomach hair. It's kind of gross, I think. But
then they look at each other as if they've never seen each other in topless before, and then they suck in their gut and like puff up their chest and start to flex, do some body.
Hairy chests were sexy.
They're doing
then.
like bodybuilding flexes to be like, try to be all macho.
That was a lot of nudity for TGIF.
Not really. I mean, they see the same thing when people go swimming.
I don't know. Okay.
The big boxers.
They were big boxers. And Balky's were like so loud and colorful. All they're wearing
are boxers at the moment. So yeah, they're all preening and primping and flexing.
And then they
slowly sit down all
like
awkwardly and stiff.
Chest.
Yeah. Stiff, straight back.
Trying to be macho. And so we hear Larry say, I'll just set this alarm for half an hour. Now, I've never tanned before. I'm already brown, so I don't do these things. But is half an hour like a standard time?
I don't know. I mean,
tanning
I don't. They have the lotion on, and I'm sure there's a setting on the bed that will, you put it on.
Yeah.
And they put on protective lotion, but.
So he sets it for half an hour.
And it's like an old-timey clock, right? With the two little, it's like a round
the bells,
analog clock with the bells.
It's like from the cartoons.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right. So he says half an hour should give them enough time, enough of a tan to impress Bunky. It's just
all about impressing Bunky.
And then he gives Balky these little, like these eye cover goggle things.
Yeah.
That you're supposed to put over your eyes to protect your eyes from the UV.
Yeah. So describe, you've seen these things. They're kind of like swim goggles. But
without the straps. They
they sit right over your eyeballs.
Yeah.
They're yellow with a little dot black hole in it.
And Balky puts his on over his eyes and he goes, cousin, look, I found little orphan Annie's eyes. And there's laughter from the audience. I didn't get this reference at first, but then I got it when it was explained.
Well, I just knew that's how they used to draw Annie's eyes in the comic strip way back like in the 30s, right?
Right.
But what about, why do you have to find them? Were they lost? Was there a thing where she didn't have eyes after a while?
They didn't have pupils in her eyes. They were just empty circles.
Were circles. That's right.
So he's like, they were lost. I found them. I don't know. It's a really specific reference.
Yes, it is. Well, then here's another one. As they lay down and then suddenly Balky pops up and he's holding the thing over his chest. And he goes, the top of Barbie's bikini?
Larry just gets annoyed. He's like, lay down. Which is random for the show, but not random as we sit today because Barbie's back,
$1 billion movie, baby. It made
Barbie's
$1 billion.
A billionaire, baby.
Over 1.1 billion. What an amazing run. And it's going to make more. It's a great movie.
So good.
Everyone should see it.
Yes. We should write a episode of Perfect Strangers where they get dressed up in pink and go to see the Barbie movie.
Oh, that would be the updated version.
Yeah.
In the Bear. It would be an episode of The Bear.
They run into yeah, exactly.
Anyways, we transition and we come back and we see the boys in the lamps in the beds with the lights on, and then Larry reaches over.
You just see his arm come out
to grab the clock and look at it, and you hear him go, "Oh my Lord!" They overslept. Of course. Of course they did. Of course they go, "Get up." He yells, "Get up," and they open the top of the lids and they slowly sit up.
And we see these two characters. Their skin is bright red, flaming hot.
Yes, where everywhere
except
on
where
top
the goggles were.
Now, first of all, they're like flaming hot Cheetos, red color.
Red Cheeto color.
And they look down, they touch their skin. And then they both scream at the same time. and the scene fades to black. That takes us to the end of Act 1.
Third-degree burns.
First of all,
if you were that
you
burned,
would go straight to the hospital.
You would be dead. You would be like having heart failure or something.
You would be able to breathe, and your skin would be crispy.
You would be in the hospital.
Second of all, if I just try to tan normally, that's what I look like. That's what happens. Is everything turns red. Like I have no tanning. Doesn't go, it just goes straight to burn. I go from 0 to burn in 60 seconds. So I can relate to what's going to happen a little bit later. But that is the end of Act 1. Listener, you can join this conversation. Join our Facebook group where we are meeting each other and meeting wonderful fans of the show and this podcast. And I post a thread on every episode we record beforehand. So you can comment and leave your observations and reactions and questions. There is a link in the episode description. Join the group. It's a lot of fun. All right, sister. Act 2, the boys are burnt.
Burnt like
cousins.
Imran in the sun.
Yes, like me next to a match.
You know what's funny about that? I don't know if we've talked about this before, but when we were kids, like you couldn't be in the sun, right? Because you didn't have any pigment.
Yeah.
And I was like, I had incredible sensitivity to like mosquito bites and stuff, and I would get super swollen and painful. So our parents just like, we were just a handful in the summer times. Like you would get doused in what do you call that? Sunblock. And I would get doused in bug spray. It was just like, we were just such a handful. Like summertime just
not good with the outside.
Both of us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Traumatic.
We were great indoorsmen. That's what we were.
Yeah, but it's a little better now. I don't mind the outdoors as long as I have like my SPF 115
as long
spray.
As I got my bug spray.
And you got your bug spray. I'll do a little forest woods camping, no problem. But yeah.
Okay, back to Act 2. So funny thing about this, Act 2, we start and Balky and Larry. Okay, remember we just saw them. They were in so much pain they couldn't even touch them.
Doesn't seem like they can move.
They couldn't move, but somehow by the beginning of Act 2, they have put on shirts.
Yeah,
which seems like it would be painful.
Yeah,
like,
that would hurt. Yeah,
like Balky's in a tank top and Larry's in like a little undershirt t-shirt. And not only have they put on shirts, but they have moved these huge tanning beds
behind the sofa now,
out of the way.
That must have hurt. How heavy are those things? How they move those with the suntan? Jesus. Yeah.
So anyway,
so they're sitting on the sofa, and there's a funny little visual gag. They've got a fan in front of them that's oscillating, right? It's going left to right. So as it goes left and blows on Balky, he is in pleasure. He starts lighting up while his face, and you see Balky in pain, and then slowly goes over to Larry. And then Larry starts to smile.
They're like those theater masks.
Yes, and
like
then Balky
smiling, frowning theater masks.
And then it goes back to Balky in a reverse. They kept going back and forth with the pain and relief.
Happy, sad face, yeah.
The sad face, happy face from the air blowing on them. It's so funny.
That's a good gag, yeah.
Miserable.
And Balky says, cousin, when we were in the tanning beds, I dreamt we were at Bunky's party. It was on the sun.
The dream it was on the sun. It's great. That's kind of
and
funny.
Larry's like, okay, maybe we got a little too much sun. And Balky's like, a little too much. And he goes, ha! And then he realizes how much pain he's in from opening his mouth
his mouth
to say
gets
ha.
stuck that way. He's like, ah! They are both in excruciating pain.
And he suggests they skip Bunky's party, even though he won't get to meet Wayne Newton. And Larry won't have it. He's like, if I don't go to this party, I'll miss my chance to become a member of the Beekman Club, and I'll regret it for the rest of my life. Oh boy, Larry making something big deal here. And he says, do you want me to regret it for the rest of my life? And Balky's getting better at roasting him by season 6. He goes, well, of course not. You regret so much already.
See, he's just trying to be a good friend. He doesn't want to add on to the pile of regret he already deals with. I get it. It's good. That's being a good friend. So they look at each other, and they're just both in pain, and they scream, and they're like, okay, they got to get their tuxes on. So they turn off the fan. They slowly get up.
The
tuxes are hanging behind the door. Remember we saw?
The front door of
they slowly and painfully stand up, and they're just like,
Very reminiscent of the gym episode where they
when they were sore.
Very sore.
And I mean, this is kind of relatable. Like, you know, people have gotten bad suntans where, like, those shirts even they have on will probably hurt right now but any kind of movement, we've all been there a little bit.
I don't know. I've only actually
I've had bad suntans where like
once.
Yeah.
Because I was under the stupid impression that brown people can't get sunburn.
Of course they can. Everybody can. It doesn't discriminate.
So I
this is
never
why the sun is evil.
wore sunscreen.
Yeah.
And then one time I was on a beach, but I was like under a shade and it was cloudy too. And I was reading a book under a tree. And I just got in like so into the book and I was like, brown people don't burn, whatever. I didn't wear any sunscreen and it was cloudy. And then all of a sudden something started hurting real bad on my shoulder. And I was like, what is that? What is that? And
I've never
I
felt
totally
this before.
got sunburn on my shoulder and it was right under like my bra strap. So I couldn't the rest of that trip getting dressed was so painful. But
this is how you know the sun is evil. It doesn't care what your ethnicity
it's
is.
only happened once, and I don't hang out in the sun, and so I still don't wear sunscreen.
It's not good for you. It's not good. I'm telling you right.
It is good. Some of the sun is good. You need some UV.
No, none of it. Just take vitamin D pills. I don't know. Vitamin E pills.
No, sun is good. Okay.
Anyways, they're standing up in pain and they're like, they got to get to the door to their tuxes. And Larry goes, all right, we're going to make a run for it. Ready? And they count to 3. They go, 1, 2, 3. And they just run screaming. They're like, ah, as they get to the door. Balky is in front of Larry. And then Larry puts his hand on Balky's back. And Balky goes, ah, and he turns around. And then Balky puts his hand on Larry's chest, grabbing him, and Larry screams, and then Larry's about to do it back to him, and Balky's like, truce. This is kind of a funny bit where they just touching each other.
And then he goes, truce, and then Larry stops, and they both look at each other, take a deep sigh together, and as they sigh, they rest their hand on their chest,
and then they go,
and then they both go, together. It's very coordinated and very lovely. Which the first time I saw it, the first time it happened, I'm like, this is going to happen again. And sure enough, they do that again later in the episode. It would be great if there were 3, if it happened a third time, but I think it only happens twice.
So Larry asks Balky for his tux, and Balky slowly reaches over crying. He's like sobbing. He's like, and is able to lift the tux off the hook and swing over and give it to Larry, but actually press it against him, which makes Larry scream in pain, of course.
And they start doing it again.
Yes, and then Larry touches Balky
to make him feel pain.
And then Balky's about to touch his face. And Larry's like, truce.
Larry says, truce. And then again, they sigh.
And then accidentally touch their chest.
And scream.
Yeah, Balky was about to grab his face at that one. That would have been hilarious. And now Balky has to get his tux. His Myposian general outfit or whatever this is. And they grab it and they slowly walk forward. And now they're going to have to put these tuxes on. So, and they both have unique ways of kind of getting the clothing on, don't they?
So Balky just shakes the hanger until the pants fall to the floor. And they both start with pants, right?
Yeah.
And Larry has somehow gotten his pants off his hanger.
Larry's just doing it normal, one leg at a time, really slowly, really painfully.
And they're wincing and screaming the whole time. It just really
Larry has
painful.
his legs propped on the sofa so he can get a leg in.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Balky has a different plan. His pants are on the ground and he starts wiggling his feet into the pants legs. To the point where he is now sliding and pivoting and gyrating his hips and doing a little dance. And he's kind of having fun. You see Bronson Pinchot smile and want to laugh. And I
laughed so hard at this.
He's wiggling his hips, gyrating his hips back and forth. He just tries to swivel his feet into the pants. It's so funny. And then there's a great moment where Larry is just frozen holding his pants. He's just staring at him. And Balky turns and looks at him and kind of smiles
you can see Bronson
Bronson is about to laugh. He's like, well, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh my God. It was so funny.
So hilarious. The little pants
He's just
dance.
trying to shimmy his legs without bending his legs or bending over. But then he finally bends down with a lot of pain and goes to grab his pants, and Larry says, let's just get this over with.
This is well timed too, because at this point Larry has now put both of the legs in his pants, and Balky is bent over and he's got the top of his pants.
Yeah. And
then Larry's like, let's just get this over with.
And they're like, 1, 2, 3. And then they like scream, ah, pulling up their pants. And then they hold their pants up. They have them up all the way. And then they're screaming. And then they stop and they both sigh together. And then they each like
clasp their hands in front of them,
like in victory. But they haven't buckled their pants yet. So as they do that, their pants fall back
pants
down.
Drop back down. So we don't get to see them.
Fun physical.
That was really funny, and we presume we don't get to see them finish dressing. Of course, apparently they got their tuxes on because we have now
seen transitioned. That Larry doesn't think ahead and be like, "How can I go to this party looking like this?" He's still in his mind, like, gonna impress these people.
He doesn't care. This will be the biggest regret of his life. He must be accepted by the popular kids.
He has to show off his trophy fiancé.
He's got to show off his trophy fiancé. I mean, to his credit, like him walking in with Jennifer is going to make him look good. But that's all you can think about is just being one of the rich snobs. It's really, he needs to see a therapist. Yes. So, yeah, we go to the next scene. We get an exterior shot of the Beekman Club. I don't know where this is. Looks like someplace in Los Angeles, no doubt.
I think the words are superimposed on this shot.
Oh, you think it is on the outside? That's a possibility. They've done that. And then we cut to the inside of the Beekman Club, and Marianne and Jennifer are there in very fancy
like
evening
sparkly
gowns.
Red and blue. One's
and they
red,
walk in,
blue.
And you notice something weird.
Yes, there's like a calypso. There's like
Caribbean
steel
music
drum band.
There's like palm trees and decorations.
Everyone's in like Hawaiian
shirts and shorts, casual.
Calypso band, yeah.
They're all eating and drinking, wearing khakis and Hawaiian shirts, very casual.
And the girls notice,
right. Yes.
And Marianne says, nobody's wearing an evening gown. Boy, are they going to be embarrassed.
Oh, sweet Marianne.
She thinks everybody else got it wrong. And Jennifer's like, and nobody else has a suntan either. And then she goes to ask Larry, but they're not there yet. And then we pan out a little bit to see Larry and Balky like entering the space. They're fully dressed in their tuxedos, but they're walking all stiltedly.
It's so
they're
funny.
Like,
I love that. Just that little grunt at every step. With their backs up, straight arms. They got their tuxes on somehow.
Yeah. And as soon as they enter, a lot of people at the party start laughing at them.
Yes, they're starting to point and look and laugh. This doesn't seem right. What's going on
and Jennifer's
here?
Embarrassed. She's like, tell me we're at the wrong party. And Balky's like, I hope not. Otherwise, we'll miss Fluffy. Marianne's like, who's Fluffy? Oh, that's Wayne Newton's real name. Balky is still thinking Wayne's going to be there.
Fluffy, Muffy, and Buffy.
Yeah.
And then Bunky shows up and says, Appleton, glad you could make it. Larry tells him, Bunky, you said the party was formal. And Bunky now, true Bunky, comes out and he's like, oh, gee, who was responsible for telling Appleton? Oh, it was me. I guess I forgot. Oh, interesting. Bunky.
And he laughs and everybody at the party starts laughing. Bunky is still a bully.
He goes, say, Appleton, what'd you do in the Caribbean? Put out fires with your face?
Oh,
he makes a joke about that red face.
And not only that, he slaps Larry on the back hard. And Larry tries to not to show his pain. And he's like, oh, no, it's nothing. It looks worse than it is. And then he goes, and Balky. And he goes to slap him on the back. And Balky catches his hand.
He's like, oh, not today.
And he goes, hi, how are you?
Not today, Bunky.
And Bunky goes, I'm fine. How are you? And Balky says, well, if I was a charcoal briquette, I'd be fine. Meaning he's on fire.
And then Balky goes, it's a small price to pay to see Fluffy. Do you know Fluffy? Bunky asks him after this. And Balky goes,
No. Balky says, it's a small price to pay to see Fluffy. And Bunky's like, oh, you know Fluffy.
Oh, yeah.
And Balky says, do I know Fluffy? I happen to be Fluffy's biggest fan. You know the album that Fluffy cut in Cleveland right after he got the... And Larry just like grabs Balky's chest to make him feel pain and shut him up. And he deflects the attention to the girls and introduces Bunky to his fiancée, Jennifer Lyons. and also to Marianne Spencer, who's Balky's girlfriend. And here's like the most cringy line that would never make it today. Bunky like looks at the girls and he goes, "Whoa, Major League Appleton."
Oh boy.
Like totally objectifying these trophy
He
girlfriends.
has impressed Bunky though.
And he greets them, "Happy to meet you," blah, blah. They say, "Thanks for inviting us." He tells them to enjoy themselves, and he says, "I'll see you later." And he goes back to his whatever party stuff.
And then here Jennifer gives him another out to leave, saying, "I hate to see you in this much pain. Maybe we should just go." And Larry's like, no. Why don't we just sit down? And they both painfully scoot over there, and Larry pulls out the chair for Jennifer on one side in pain while Balky is scooting out the chair for Marianne and pushing the chair in. And then Marianne sits and Balky goes, ah. And Marianne's like, "Oh, you're sunburned?" Balky goes, "No, the chair's on my foot." It's to lift the chair off the foot. It's pretty funny. And then they both
kind
go.
of a random joke.
It was kind of random, but then they both sit down in the middle. So the cousins are sitting in the middle. The girls are on the sides.
And
When
then,
suddenly, what happens?
suddenly we hear Bunky from the side of the room call out an announcement to the whole party. He says, "Attention, it's coronation time." And the lights dim.
And then, like, the
Everybody starts
spotlight comes out. Yeah.
applauding. And Balky says, "Cousin, coronations are my favorite flowers.
That's
my
a funny-
favorite flower."
That's a good line. I like that line.
Not carnations,
Coronation.
coronation.
Oh, coronations on my favorite. But Larry tells him, "Balky, I think they're going to make me a member of the Beekman Club." Suddenly, the spotlight stops on them, lighting them up. And he's like, "Oh, see?"
What did I tell you? I'm in.
Yeah, Larry thinks this is a big celebration for him. And Bunky says, "Larry, Balky, would you please join me?"
Bunky's like,
Bunky's
"Oh,
like,
wow,
"Me too."
they're going to make me a member too?" And
And Larry's like, "Bunky did say he liked you." And even it's like reaction shot of Marianne smiling.
Yeah.
Like, what is happening here?
And so they painstakingly stand up, and then they go,
We go to the stage where the
over
band
to
is
the-
and Bunky is.
Yeah. And Bunky gives this whole speech. He says, "Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to crown our kings for the evening. Our old friend from high school, Larry Appleton, and our new friend, his cousin, Balky Bartakamus." And everyone applauds, but they're
Yay!
kind of laughing too. And Larry still doesn't get it. He says, "Not only are we in, we're kings." He says this to Balky. And Bunky gets these crowns, and he puts these two crowns on Larry and Balky's heads. But they're like really big, at least the one on Balky's
The one
head.
on Balky's head is a little too big and
it
starts
slips
sliding
down
over his face.
over his face, over his eyes.
Yeah.
And everyone starts to applaud. Bunky asks them all to hold their applause till the end, and he continues on. And Balky, in the meantime, the crown has fallen like down past his whole face, and he says, "Cousin, the previous kings must have had enormous heads."
Yeah, I don't know why the
This
crowns are
whole
so
little
big. What's
piece,
the
was
deal
this
with the
all
crowns?
improvised or what?
Maybe, because like, why are these crowns so big?
I thought it was, but the way everything paused for him to deliver this line didn't seem improvised for me.
Yeah, it's very strange.
It's very strange.
Yes,
Why didn't they
oversized
just
crowns.
make them
I don't know.
regular
Yeah.
crowns? Anyway.
So Bunky continued. He goes, "Okay, now every king needs a throne, and we searched high and low for one that was worthy of you." And he tells the guy, "Bring out the throne." And this man pulls out this seat with a
Covered in
sheet
Yeah.
over it. Bunky pulls away the sheet. What's under it? It's a toilet.
Womp womp. So then
The throne
Larry
is a
finally
toilet.
gets it, but Balky doesn't get it yet. Balky gets excited. He says, "Cousin, it's just like King Ferdinand's throne."
Because we must be really important.
The rest of the people at the party are all
Everybody's laughing, having a good laugh at their expense. These are grown adults just
I know, just like
humiliating
being bullies
people
again.
with really bad jokes. Like, this doesn't make any sense. But Larry has finally come to his senses. He finally snaps out of it. He tells Balky, they are making fun of us. as Bunky says, "All hail Appleton, King of Fools." He just calls him King of Fools.
Everybody laughs.
Everybody's having a good time.
Cheering.
You think this was on the flyer for this party? Join us tonight where we humiliate Larry Appleton.
Yeah,
like this whole party was thrown just to bring out a throne.
I don't know what this party even is about.
You think Bunky was like, "Listen, I need you to find me a toilet"? Like, what is happening?
So
these are real
weird.
people. What kind of rich snobs are these?
Adults, yeah.
Like it's like an eyes wide shut thing. I understand when you're having like crazy parties. This is just a little silly.
This is
it's a lot of trouble.
Like a lot of background.
A lot of setup
we're missing here.
Just to humiliate two people you haven't talked to. And
so Bunky has just called Larry King of Fools, and Larry, for once, finally like speaks up for himself, and he says, "You're right, Bunky. I am a fool. I wanted to be a member of your club. I was stupid enough to think you had changed since high school, but you're still as cruel and insensitive as you were then. And I really don't want to spend another minute with you. Come on, Balky, we're leaving."
And then the audience applauses, like the studio audience, after Larry has finally grown a spine and stood his ground and told them to their face things people want to tell bullies to their face all the time, right?
But what's missing from this episode is Bunky's reaction, or like any
remorse or feeling guilty or any kind of
or
shot
anybody
of them.
at the party either.
There's like one shot of the crowd afterwards, and it kind of looks like they feel bad, but they also probably don't care and just probably went out of the party 2 minutes later.
But before they leave, Balky says, "Frankly, I am shocked that Wayne Newton would have anything to do with any of you." He still thinks,
and Balky thinks the whole time Fluffy was Wayne Newton.
Yeah.
And where is he?
We don't find out any of the aftermath, nothing, because we cut to the next scene, which is they're back at the apartment. And Balky and Larry are on the couch, and the girls are on either side of them putting like cold cream or something.
But just on like
faces.
Selective places. Like, shouldn't they be like slathering their whole body?
Yeah, they should
just on their nose and cheeks.
They're just like dabbing gently. But they probably hurt.
You need to smother these boys in that. Also, the tanning bed's still in the back.
They have to be gentle. Yeah.
How long is this rental?
Still there.
Is it a 24-hour rental? You didn't have to return these?
I know. And how expensive was it? Yeah. Anyway. And so here's where we get kind of the wrap up, but it's like not that great. Anyway, Jennifer says to Larry, "I don't understand why you wanted to join Bunky's club." Which
is a question we've been like, wondering the whole time. Why do you want to join these people?
She says he's a jerk. And then we hear it from Larry. He says, I think the only reason I wanted to be in Bunky's club was because Bunky didn't want me in his club.
Okay, sure. It's kind of the reverse of the Groucho Marx line. You know, his famous line is like, "I'd never be a member of any group that would have me as a member.
Yeah,
I would never join any group that would have me as his member." This is Larry's opposite. I want to be in because he won't let me in, just to be accepted. And then Bucky has a good Miposian aphorism. He goes, "Cousin, when we can't make friends with a skunk, we consider that a good thing."
On Mipos,
when we can't make friends with a skunk, we consider that a good thing.
Which is funny.
Good advice from Bucky.
And Larry goes on to like reflect a little more. He says, "I don't know why I'd want to be friends with someone like Bunky when I already have 3 of the best friends in the world." Aw. And the audience goes, "Aw." And then Jennifer says, "Larry, you're not only my best friend, you're the man I love."
Aw.
Oh, she does love him.
She loves that little burnt Wisconsinner.
And they're still like dabbing cream on their respective boyfriends. And Marianne goes, "That goes for me too, Larry."
Oh, Marianne loves Larry also.
And look at her. They all stop. And then she goes, "I mean the friend part."
Marianne is the man she loves.
She says, "The love part is someone else."
And then she
and Balky exchange a look.
That is weird. Why did they throw that line in? Balky has not told. They haven't said "I love you" to each other, Balky and Marianne.
And then the two couples each kiss. But then Balky and Larry feel pain from it, and they both scream, "Ah!"
Yeah, you knew that was going to come.
And then roll credits.
You knew it was going to end with a kiss on the lips.
There's no lesson time music because there's no lesson time.
Roll credits.
Roll credits.
Listener, check out our TeePublic shop. Before we get into what we thought of this episode, you can buy some great swag if you visit danceofjoypod.com/shop. Someone recently bought a tank top. Thank you very much, whoever that was.
Hey.
Send us a photo, person.
Send a photo.
I don't know who it is, but I'm glad you purchased something.
Tag us, post a photo on your socials and tag us.
There's coffee mugs and hoodies and tote bags and cell phone cases. A lot of fun stuff. They've got sales all the time. danceofjoypod.com/shop. Okay, what did you think of this episode?
Okay, first of all,
Yes.
it just seems so unrealistic to me that someone named Bunky was like the coolest kid, the cool
Bunky
kid,
McDermott.
and all of the gang is like Miffy, Biffy, whatever. Like you'd think after 15 years, they're all 30 now. That they would be the ones being laughed at, like,
What a bunch
when
of
they're
rich
grown,
losers.
and be like, "Oh my God, you guys are still going by Bunky? Like, what is your problem?" And Biffy and Miffy or
They
whatever their
absolutely
names
would
are.
have been the target of bullies,
They
not the
would-
bullies.
Exactly.
themselves.
It made more sense for him to be the president of the chess club in the previous episode than Bunky.
And then I know this other question bugged you from the very beginning.
Why did Bunky even show up
So,
at the Chronicle?
After watching this whole thing unfold, it seems like Bunky's only reason for showing up was to invite Larry to this elaborate humiliation soiree. Is that correct?
But it did seem to me while watching it was like, oh no, there was some premise for him being there that
like maybe he had a
must have
meeting
been
or they're
cut
doing
out.
business together or
And
he wants
sure
to work
enough-
there. Oh, there was.
Sure enough.
Oh.
There was some stuff cut out from earlier scripts, and this is the story as I understand it, that Bunky had given an exclusive interview because Bunky was the president of this club, the Beekman Club or whatever.
Oh, so that's why he was there.
And in earlier scripts, Wainwright says, thanks for the exclusive. An interview with the president is bound to of this club is bound to increase our circulation.
Is
so there
it?
was like,
Really?
and he says, the public loves to read about the rich and powerful.
Oh, I see what you're doing, Wainwright.
So that's why
clickbait.
he was there. But
Okay.
Wainwright wouldn't be doing the interview himself. He's the publisher. Anyway.
I don't know. I think Bunky showed up just to humiliate and set up this whole party just to humiliate Larry Appleton.
But it
makes
also
no
explains, like, what we missed is that Bunky is the president of this fancy club.
Okay. Regardless of the silly premise, I think the whole suntanning bit saves the whole episode, right? That's like,
Well, I think
the
the
best
whole
part of the
episode was
episode.
written around this suntanning gag,
which is similar
which is
to
a repeat of
the being sore
gym
from
gag.
exercising gag. Yes.
with
Very
more
similar,
color and
yes.
makeup artists, right?
And tanning beds that you have to explain how.
And
or
tanning
don't
beds that
explain.
you put in
Don't
your
explain how they got there.
enormous apartment
What is this service? Where they dropped off?
within 2 hours. Yeah, like what?
Yeah. But the tanning bit was hilarious.
It would take me 2 hours just to figure out where to find the tanning bed.
Exactly. How do you find a business like this? Was it just down the
They
street?
didn't have Google then.
No,
They
you
had
needed
to,
the yellow pages.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's funny and ridiculous and kind of silly.
A
but
lot of unexplained.
just a lot of questions. I bet our
Questions.
listeners had some questions.
Also, wait, before we get to the listeners, also this like objectifying of Jennifer as like, oh, I'm going to impress Bunky
Yeah, she was a man
McDunky
just to be used as a trophy.
because I have this hot fiance. Yeah. Okay. Listeners, what did our listeners think? First up, we have cousin listener Pam Hitchcock who writes, I would hate living in the apartment below them.
You'd be like, oh,
Can you
God,
imagine
what are
them
they doing now?
dragging the,
What is
the
all
tanning
this?
beds?
Is it an elephant now? We got
Yeah.
another animal? What is happening up there? Should I be worried the plumbing is going to burst at any second?
Exactly.
What is happening? Yeah, I wouldn't want to live below them.
And she also writes, the taking off of the robes was reminiscent of Hello Baby episode. And the stiff,
We saw that before.
Oh, with the pajamas?
yeah.
These my Spider-Man pajamas.
Yeah.
Because my He-Man pajamas were in the laundry.
But this one, they took it further. And just
And the
made
stiff,
him
painful
topless.
walking is reminiscent of hunks like us, which we've already mentioned. Nice little touches. She says, not much to say, a rather boring episode to me. I didn't care about Bunky and his airhead friends, and it was pathetic that Larry did. Bunky reminded me of brother Billy. Did Larry want Bunky's approval because he really wanted Billy's approval?
Bunky is a Billy surrogate. There's Bunky, there's Billy. But, you know, that's real. Like wanting the acceptance of your
He
peers
just wants everybody.
so badly that you will change who you are.
It's real when you're
It's real.
15.
Yes,
not
it's
when
real
you're
when you're in high
30.
school.
Yeah.
And you tend to grow out of it. Tell you what, the sunburning is real.
So, yeah,
That's
on that
relatable.
note, Cousin Pam also writes, I actually had a sunburn like
See,
that once.
it's relatable.
My hubby and I took a boat out once and got stranded on a tiny island in the Gulf of Mexico.
Oh, like in Lost? Is this like Lost?
Stranded.
Oh, boy.
We ran out of gas, and I don't even remember how we got back because I was pretty out of it from the pain. I'm not making this up
Oh, my
in all
God.
caps. LOL, I know it sounds like it, but it's true, and it was a horrible next several days.
Oh, yeah.
There's no way they could have standed wearing suits with sunburns like that.
Yes.
You can hardly tolerate loose, airy clothes.
Yes.
Exactly.
They would have passed out from the excruciating pain.
They would have passed out, had fevers, been delirious, dehydrated. Everything.
All that stuff. That is an ER. You go to the ER. That is an emergency room situation.
You call 911
Yes.
in that situation.
You're like, oh, we screwed up.
And you definitely don't still go to this party.
But he needs to be accepted.
All right. Cousin Whitney Smith writes, when we first meet Bunky, you want to be on his side and think he's a changed man, but we're going to learn that some people don't change and don't want to change. But Larry didn't let it get to him. Even though they looked like strawberries, he told Bunky off, basically, dusted the dirt off his shoulders and walked out with his pride along with his fiance and cousin and his date. I applaud and adore Larry for how he handled it.
Yeah.
Speaking of fiance, where was Bunky's? Even though Bunky was rich and had it going on, Larry doing way better than him. Okay.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, that's a good moment there when Larry finally stands up for
mic
himself.
drop and leaves. She also writes, it's so funny that Balky mentioned the Barbie bikini top with the goggles, the UV goggles.
Barbie's missing Barbie's
because
bikini
we're in
top.
the middle of a Barbie bonanza.
Barbenheimer.
We are in the middle of a Barbie bonanza. Also, where did they get the tanning beds from? You really could rent tanning beds back then.
I mean, I almost believe you could because like tanning got really big in the late 80s and 90s. But then you could have done the spray tan. I don't know if that was around. That would have been, maybe that came later.
Did they rent the machines?
I feel like it might have been such a big craze where they're like, have tan in your own home or whatever.
And do they get delivered?
I just remember these places being in the malls, like in the late 80s or early 90s. There was always like tanning places.
I'm sure they're still around.
Yeah. There's massage places.
I think there's still tanning places, but I don't know.
But now you can just get a spray and spray yourself, and you'll be accused of blackface. Maybe I don't know. I don't know how that works.
Orange face.
Orange face.
Cousin Nicole Stoner writes, we get it, Bronson. You're very handsome.
What does that mean? Just because he took his clothes off?
Yeah, and he's like all hairy and muscular or whatever. And then finally we have cousin listener John Adama, who writes many things, among them, Mr. Wainwright gives an incredibly limp handshake.
I didn't notice
he's like
that.
old.
Yeah.
And he says, based on the names, I assume Larry went to a private school. Is it a private school or is it just like people in Wisconsin? I don't know.
Well, so everybody from Wisconsin
relocated to Chicago.
Came to Chicago?
That's an interesting thought. That actually does make sense to me because I went to college in Chicago and there were a lot of
all over.
A lot
Michigan,
of Wisconsin kids came.
Indiana,
I feel like Wisconsin to Chicago is a big move, and
Yeah.
people do come here to settle. So that's believable. Cousin John writes, half an hour. They would have been toast no matter what.
I guess that's a long time.
I guess it's a long time. That's what I was wondering.
Well, how long does the tan take? 10 minutes, probably.
I have
Listen,
literally no idea.
No
I've
minutes
never
in the
done
sun is
this
good for you.
before.
0. That's the good amount.
No, sometime in the sun is good for you. And he writes, gee, the bullies. As a payoff, this is a little lacking. This means like that Bunky is still a bully. Yeah. The amount of effort that goes to embarrassing Larry makes Bunky look pretty sad.
They had to arrange this whole steel drum band and all the props for a Caribbean party. Really, Bunky?
Well, no. All he had to do was maybe that party was already set. He just had to tell them that it was a formal event or something.
Oh, I see.
Cousin John writes, they have second-degree burns on 80% of their bodies. Thankfully, the girls managed to dab a couple of tablespoons of aloe on their faces.
Yeah, that should help.
Yeah.
That'll help heal the one spot.
And his wrap-up. Kind of feels like rather than an idea, this one had one visual joke that they built a whole episode around. That's what I was thinking too. No new ground is broken, but no damage done either. He gives it a B.
Classic Perfect Strangers.
We had good physical comedy, but even the physical comedy was like repeat physical comedy.
But it's funny to watch them do it.
But it's still funny, still entertaining. We had some good, like, not really wordplay, but just fun with all these names.
Yeah. Some alliteration. Balky, Bunky,
Yeah.
Balky.
Yeah.
Don't be ridiculous was not said.
Of course I have. Don't be ridiculous.
And Dimitri must be off on vacation
Back to the
again
photo
because
of Dimitri on the bookshelf.
Only in a photograph on
Yeah.
the bookshelf. Okay, let's talk about Perfect Strangers today, or PS Today, which is the segment of this podcast where we talk about could we remake this episode today? What things hold up? What things are problematic? What things would have to change?
Well, you could still get really bad sunburns, as we've established. But
can you bring tanning beds to your apartment?
I don't know how you would accidentally get.
Would bullies still bully you in the same? I don't know. All of this feels very
Just like the idea of him wanting to join that group doesn't make sense.
And just like the idea of people called Bunky and Glyph and Biff or whatever being like the cool rich people that
it was like the whole thing
not
where like
getting made fun of at all.
But they were I mean like the popular kids would their parents had boats and they would wear the sweaters around the shoulders.
I don't think this would happen today because we hate the rich now.
Yeah, now it's different.
Nobody wants to be like the rich. Everyone rich is constantly ridiculed. The Elon Musk
the
like
rich have become the bad
people
guys.
on Instagram reels, like everybody, these like restocking videos, everybody's laughing at this.
Isn't it funny how back then we admired the rich? This is still also like Donald Trump when he was just like a real estate mogul. Everybody looked up to him, thought he was great. They wanted to be that successful. You admired the rich, and that sentiment has changed to, eat the rich.
Yeah.
But it is a cycle, and that's going to happen. So that's what it's like now. I don't know if you could do. You'd have to change a bunch of things.
And like, I don't know.
They could fall asleep and get a fake tan, but how would they be?
But not in their apartments. They would have to go to like for this to be believable. You'd have to like go to the tanning salon, which is fine. They just I don't know if they just didn't have another set.
You could have done it
ready.
At a tanning
you
salon.
could have done it at the salon,
they forgot about them in the back, and the store locked up, and like they wake up or something.
Yeah.
They wanted to be. They didn't want anybody to see them, so they put them in the back, and then they forgot. about
that
maybe
because you'd have to explain why when people were around why they stayed in so long,
something like that. You just got to get them in a painful situation. I don't know.
But like the whole premise about like needing to impress these rich people. You could take the rich part out of it and just be like these were the popular kids in high school, and we still want them
who were bullies.
We still want to impress them, but
you could still have a anti-bullying message.
Not cool anymore.
No, it would be like a really strong anti-bullying message.
Yeah,
that's what it would be with some stuff. So I don't know, mid to low. PS Today. Score. Yeah,
that's it for this episode. Join us next week when we talk about the next episode in which Balky does a bit of magic.
You know what? Balky would make an amazing magician. I could see it now. Oh my God! With his funny words and he get the hat, I could see Balky would be a great magician.
We'll find out.
If he was a magician and went on America's Got Talent, he would get the golden buzzer
or Star Search.
He'd win Star Search. In the meantime, listener, you can support this show with some digdas, with some rubles, with some rupees, any kind of currency. Just visit our website and click that "Buy Us a Coffee" button. It is a virtual tip jar where you can give back. For all this nostalgic entertainment.
We need the digdas to keep us well stocked in sunscreen and bug spray.
I can't go outside half of the time, listener. I need bigger umbrellas and stronger suntan lotion.
Listener, this is why we watch so much television. Your dear hosts watch so much television.
I wasn't out playing with kids.
Because we never went outside.
I wasn't doing sports.
We were both allergic to the outside in different ways.
This is a much better way to grow up. Let me tell you.
It's not painful.
Yeah, you don't break a leg watching reruns during the summers.
You don't get bug bites.
You don't get bitten. You don't get hurt.
You don't get burned, bitten, burned, or broken. Nothing gets bitten, burned, or broken, to keep with our theme of alliteration. Anyhow, buy us a coffee. In the meantime, please also do us a big favor and visit us on our website, danceofjoypod.com. On that website, you can find links to all the different platforms where you can listen to this podcast and like and rate and review and subscribe and all that fun stuff. You can also press a button right there on the website and leave us a voice message. Tell us about your tanning bed experiences. Did you have them in your apartment? I'm very confused by this. Intrigued. Or you can write out your whole story in an email and send it to us at danceofjoypod@gmail.com. But if you're younger and hipper than writing emails, then you can hit us up on any of our social media accounts. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. But Imran, what is the most important thing our listeners should do?
Stay out of the sun, people. It's nothing but harm and wrinkles, and you don't need it. You don't need it. It's fine. Protect your skin. That's important. It's the biggest organ on your body. The dermis must be protected at all costs. Now, the most important thing, of course, is to share this show while you're out there sunbathing with your sunbathing people.
Don't fall asleep
Don't fall asleep
in
while
the
you're out there
tanning
sunbathing.
bed.
That's also, people have done that.
in the tanning bed. And share the show with a friend. Listen, if you listen to the show, you can time your tanning bed accordingly.
Oh, you'd be burnt
Don't
to a
listen
crisp
to
by
the
now.
whole show.
Yes.
Listen to like a quarter of the show.
You should have bailed out 45 minutes ago.
Yes. Just listen to one tangential conversation and then get out of the
And you're
tanning
good.
bed. That's our show. Now we are so happy.
Now we are so happy we do the dance of joy.
Hey, 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 hey.